Welcome to another edition of Cambridge Inside Out. Do I sound official enough?
Yeah, you do. Very.
Right.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Winters.
And I'm Judy Nathans.
And today is May 2nd, Dos de Mayo, 2016.
Okay, it's only May 2nd?
Only May 2nd. Oh, excuse me, it's actually May 3rd. I lied.
I knew that I have sort of a headache, but I knew something was wrong with it.
I'm not very good with numbers.
Because it's Tuesday. Okay, May 3rd.
May 3rd.
But Cinco de Mayo is
Cinco de Mayo,
Thursday.
yeah, actually, I always joke around when I put like little fake titles when I write up
Yeah.
Civic Journal stuff before
Yeah.
a city council meeting.
Yeah.
So I noticed it was May 2nd. I said, Dos de Mayo. And then I looked it up on Wikipedia. It turned out it was actually a commemoration of some big battle in Madrid.
Oh.
So I
so
put
there's many.
a very violent
okay.
photo of
Is that what that is
French
over there?
people being overthrown or
We
something.
could show
like
them.
that.
It's right there on your.
It's all right. So let's see. So
Okay.
what's up in the great grand world of things here?
Well, like I said, we were off the air. There's one primary today, which I guess is going to be make or break for Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz,
Right.
Indiana,
Indiana.
which
Okay.
is an open primary. Which means it's not like the other ones where you can be a Democrat, I believe. Well, I'm not sure what. I think open does mean you can be anything, or does it mean you have to be an independent and then can vote in either one? I think that you have to be unenrolled.
Fully open means,
Right.
you can be anything, pretty much.
Maybe
Actually,
so, because we're mixed. I think
Yeah.
that Massachusetts is mixed.
right. The thing is if you're unenrolled, then you can vote in either. But if
Right.
you are enrolled in a party, you've got to stick with that one.
Well, that's closed then.
No, because the
No?
thing is that like in New York, you had to be registered as a Democrat.
Oh, I see. So completely closes. You
Democrat.
couldn't be an independent. I understand. All right.
Right.
Well, we'll see what happens. But
I think being unenrolled is for wusses.
well, I used to be when I used to vote Republican governors.
You were a wuss?
Well, no, I would vote. I mean, remember when we had some really
I know.
bad?
Honestly, when I came here, I had no
Yeah.
real sense of the parties.
Right,
And
yeah.
I chose to register as a Democrat initially,
Yeah.
not because I particularly felt partisan about anything,
Right.
but that was
Made
where
it
the action
easier.
was.
True. That's true.
There were,
We didn't really have
the
independent
Republicans
parties.
everything was uncontested. Of course,
Right.
now over time, even the Democratic things are
Yeah.
uncontested most of the way. So
Well, that's
so
a good point.
It's just sort of a silly formality.
So other than that going on, and then I guess Mayor Walsh is getting into problems, but that's Boston, with the union stuff.
politics.
Yeah, really. He's
Yeah.
I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
And no IndyCar race, I
Yeah.
guess.
I did want to say something. I wrote this
Yeah.
on Civic Journal too, but
All right.
this past weekend,
Oh, right,
they had.
yeah, and I missed
they were
that.
supposed to have the Harvard Square Mayfair, but that got rained out.
Right.
It wasn't super rainy on Sunday, but
Well, it started to rain kind of badly around 3, so it would have been a damp.
So they
pardon the pun, it would have been put a
right.
damper
So
on
they
things.
did postpone that to May 15th,
Exactly.
which is very, very lucky because it's also my birthday. So
No way!
yes,
May 15th?
way.
Okay.
Mayfair is
May
now
15th.
officially will be celebrating
Sunday.
my birth.
Yay!
Right, I'm sure Denise Gilson and the Harvard Square Business Association will fully acknowledge that.
And
or
can
not.
I add, you can still buy raffle tickets to help support
their
the high school.
friends of
Because they've
CRLS.
extended it now to May 15th.
Yeah, I have a link
that's
up on
really
my
good.
website,
You do? Oh, good.
rwinters.com, just sort of promote the raffle for
Yes.
helping support friends of
And you can do it
CRLS.
online. I bought 20 tickets.
All right, good for you.
Yay.
But I did want to say something on Saturday because it was this Arts First Festival
At Harvard.
At Harvard,
Which
they
is
had-
every year, right?
every year, and they have. It's especially good now because they've got the big enhanced plaza area between the Science Center and Harvard Yard, and they had the big
right.
white tent up.
Oh, right. That's what, okay.
Oh, and you had marching bands and a lot of kind of
All right.
fun, corny
Yeah.
stuff that I kind of like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Marching bands singing,
Yeah.
Fight on Harvard.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to say, we went wandering around through the yard and just sort of looking for things that might seem interesting. And we happened upon the Hollis Chapel, which is actually one of the really oldest buildings
Yeah.
in the yard. And they had some musical performances in a pretty small setting. And they had a couple of women singing jazzy music. Who wrote their own songs?
Really?
Their names were Claire Dixon and Camilla Ortiz, and they had actually never performed publicly together.
Now, these are Harvard students. You have to be a Harvard student,
they're both just finishing their freshman year at Harvard.
Okay.
And they were just jazz vocalists, and they had a couple of some accompaniment there, just very small. I think it was one person
Yeah.
on keyboards, one on some
So it
percussion.
wasn't a big announcement thing. You just would wander. And find
and there
this.
was a relatively small group in there. And I have to say, I mean, this may well have been
Yeah.
my favorite performance I've seen
Really?
musically
Wow.
in years. And it was just two Harvard freshmen
Wow.
performing very well. I
Well,
was
Robert, how many
absolutely
do you
happy.
see though? Not a lot.
No, well, maybe not as some.
Okay,
right?
but that's very
I'm
encouraging.
not a total culture
Next
vulture.
year, I'll have to remember that, because it's always the same time. It's like the last week of April to May 1st, right?
End of April, beginning of May.
Yeah.
The other one I really highlight, I would highlight, is over under the big tent. They had a woman named Asia, it reads Asia Stewart,
Yeah.
who was singing Broadway type tunes. It was just her with one person
Musical,
accompanying her on keyboards. And she was stunning. It was, I was just spellbound watching the performance.
They're probably like chemistry majors or something.
Well,
Who knows?
no, she
the
wasn't.
theater major,
Actually, she was gender studies, but the thing is that it was, it was just great, and it makes me feel sort of, as I also wrote about the other day, kind of privileged living in Cambridge, where you can sort of go there and
there's
take this in.
universities. They have cultural events. I mean, that's.
This was just really good.
Yeah.
And there's some things coming up, as we mentioned, the Mayfair, which they do every year in Harvard Square, postponed to May 15th.
Right.
One thing that I will definitely be going on is this coming Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to a soccer game.
There's an organization, it's actually national. It's called Jane Jacobs Walk. Jane Jacobs, she was a
landscape
she was she wrote the book, was it called Life and Death of Great American Cities?
Okay.
She kind of was, in many ways, she was the foil to Robert Moses, who was the big planner, who was like running over neighborhoods and putting in super blocks and highways. And she basically made the case for the importance of, street corners and more neighborhood scale things.
But was she from around here? I think she was.
Her big battle was in New York, New York City. I don't know where she originally hails from. But there's an organization that's dedicated to sort of promoting some of the ideals that she espoused. And so periodically, somebody from Cambridge will host a Jane Jacobs Walk that's advertised.
If I clicked on that, would something pretty come up? Because you have it
not
there.
really. So they're having on May 7th.
What time is that?
I think the May 7th one it's called A New Look at Old Cambridge.
It's 10:30 to noon.
10:30 a.m. to noon. So if you want to be there on this coming Saturday up at Winthrop Park, right off JFK Street in Harvard Square, that's where things will commence. And one of the great things, one of Cambridge's greatest resources is Charlie Sullivan from the Cambridge Historical Commission, and he's going to lead the walk and narrate. But comments from everybody are very, very welcome.
It's only till noon, so it can't go very far, huh?
Yeah, it tends not to be. These ones are not super long walks.
Okay.
But they come back, and everybody will have lunch at Grendel's.
Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to Club Passim because they're having Stories Live, which is high school kids from around the area that are telling their stories, and they're trying to raise funds. So
now here's another thing. So this is May 7th is going to be just this fabulously fun day. I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day.
Oh, right, that's the Smoots Walk.
Yeah. So.
But isn't that the same time? No.
No, it's in the afternoon. So there's those of us who work at MIT, we've been getting notices for this for most of the past year, leading up to the centennial of MIT's moving from Boston to Cambridge. So there's this event being planned called Moving Day at MIT this Saturday, May 7th. And the three featured items on it, from 2 to 3, they're actually shutting down the Mass Ave Bridge.
That's something to see.
I think they're letting one lane of traffic
maybe
toward Cambridge, but the rest is shut.
Yeah.
But it's only for like an hour or hour and a half or something. But it's called the Crossing the Charles Parade and Competition with Grand Marshal Oliver Smoot. Now, for those of you who don't know, anyone who's walked over the Harvard, well, it's technically called the Harvard Bridge, but everybody says they call it the MIT Bridge. There's these markings that were put on, painted on, that were called measured in smoots. It was I think it was a Harvard freshman. Maybe it was a pledge for a dorm or a fraternity or something.
I thought it was MIT.
Did I say Harvard? I meant MIT.
Yeah, okay.
And so what they did was they actually just laid him on the ground, used him as a measuring stick, and then moved him, and they just walked.
He wasn't very tall, was he?
No, I don't
What is
really.
the length, do you know?
I don't know really. But so they moved him, and they called that measuring unit a smoot, because that's his name. And they put the markings across the Harvard Bridge every 10 smoots. And when I first came here in the late 70s, I remember the smoots, and then they reconstructed the bridge But part of the condition was they would put the smoots back down.
So we do not know how old this Grand Marshal is?
I don't know. I think he's class of 81 or, excuse me, he's class of 61 or something.
61.
So he's been around a while.
Oh, well, that's not
I
bad.
could have that a little wrong, but
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's the Grand Marshal of the parade.
I
So
hope
that's,
they're not laying him down on the bridge again.
I don't know.
He's going to lose a few inches.
He
'cause
might,
he's older.
yeah. He's 2
So
to
that'll be
3:30, and that's followed by a pageant in the evening, 8:30 to 9:30, in Killian Court, which is the big courtyard facing the river in the heart
So
of MIT.
it'll be under a tent, or?
I don't actually know if it's going to be under a tent or what, but
Yeah,
I imagine
that's
they'll
a
do
pageant
something.
there, mind in hand, whatever that
It's called,
means.
well, Mind in Hand is
Oh, you know what that
that's the motto for MIT. It's
Oh.
mens et manus. In Latin,
Oh,
it
my
means
goodness.
mind in hand, and it's all about the history of MIT as an engineering school. It's mind and hand. It's in conjunction with industry and you
Boy,
name
they
it.
should revive that for everybody.
Right, so they're having a pageant, and I guaranteed it'll be a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be food. So if you're hungry, come on by.
I think it's 7:30 to 9:30.
It could be 7:30 to 9:30.
Yeah, I think I read that
Yeah,
somewhere.
I could have that wrong. And then 9:30 till midnight, they just have these various fests all around the campus, dance parties and whatever.
Wow.
So it's basically
It
the
kind of
big
sounds
party.
like the arts stuff.
Yeah, but it's very, very
different.
specific to the MIT Centennial, or not the Centennial, the Institute.
It's 150?
The Institute actually dates to about 1861,
Okay.
but the moving across the river is 1916.
Oh, okay. So that's 100 years.
Yeah. So that's coming up this
Wow.
weekend. Before then, I hate to make it just sound like announcements of like fun things to do.
Well, there's something bad.
Well, no. I think you may not see it as fun, but I find going to these things fun.
Oh,
is the budget hearings on.
Oh, right. For
on
certain
this-
well, a lot of departments.
Yeah, so
actually.
about half
Not the
the-
schools and not public works, I noticed.
Right, it's about half the departments will have their hearings, budget hearings, on this Thursday, starting at 9 a.m. at the Sullivan Chamber at City Hall. The rest of the departments, other than the school department, will have their hearings the following Thursday, May 12th.
Okay, now, you've obviously gone to these. What usually happens at this? Who
You know,
the department head testifies? Or,
yes.
and is the counselors there?
Yep, most of the counselors will be there, and they will,
Even if they have day jobs?
sometimes they float in and out.
Oh, okay.
Most of them don't have day jobs,
Well,
which I think is
really?
not the best.
Oh,
But
well, with what they're paid, I don't think.
right, so
they
they'll be
get-
there, and they'll be questioning the
Okay.
department heads. It's a big opportunity to really get into detail.
I see.
They are supposed to talk specific to the budget, but they always deviate from that, and to some degree that's
Wow.
okay.
That could go on forever. There's like
It can, but
20 departments.
except
isn't
most of them are non-controversial budgets, so they just they wave them all through.
there? Okay.
And the city individual councilors have the right to pool specific budgets. So maybe out of I don't know how many there are listed, 20 or so.
You have about 20. Do you have any idea what might be controversial? You have them listed. I saw
Not
that
really,
on the website. But
sometimes what it really is, it'll be an individual counselor who has some particular, it's not necessarily a matter of controversy.
right,
They
they're
have
just an interest in.
they have a very strong interest in
Right.
something. So,
Okay.
so for this one here, maybe
Oh, right, yeah.
the manager's budget, the finance department. So there used to be years ago there was some problem within the personnel department, and people were kind of ganging up on the head of that department. So that one would get pulled. Sometimes they would some counselors would pull it just to make the department head wait. Which I thought
Wow.
was a bad sportsmanship. I'll guarantee you information
I was just going to
technology.
say, I bet that's going to get a lot
Oh,
of.
yeah, there's a lot of
What does that mean?
improvements.
It means internally or just.
Yeah, there's a lot
providing-
of more, computer things like the C-Click Fix and Commonwealth Connect. There's a lot of more, there's the open data portal that's now
Can I
available.
share something I learned today? From
Sure.
An unnamed person who is dealing with the inspectional services permitting
Yeah.
issues, and it's all online now, and that they lose stuff. It has not worked.
It hasn't worked super
They
well.
will not take it just manually, and then what they have online is different from, and then he goes to the one department. No, you don't need that. You need this, but it's not. So I'm just saying,
So they got some bugs to
everything
work
is
out.
so online now that
Yeah.
you wonder, is
That's
it really
not-
helping or what?
Yeah, actually, the election commission is their budget may be pulled. They actually are on the verge. I don't know if it made it into the budget, but they were doing a little comparison shopping of different types of voting machines to upgrade the equipment we have.
What's wrong with the equipment we have?
It's beyond its. They've been cobbling together things using some spare parts. It works. It's fine, but it's not going to last forever, and we could do better.
All right.
So at some point you have to upgrade.
Okay. And what else is on there? Animal commission.
Well, there's fire department.
What does that mean?
The city must maintain a certain amount of funds
cash
on reserve.
reserve. Okay.
The fire department is often called, the police department might be called just to say thank you to Robert Haas, the police commissioner.
He's leaving.
Yeah, traffic, parking, transportation often will be called. So again, so those are some of the things that you might well expect to hear about on this Thursday. Friday, I'm going to be at City Hall 9:30 for the Outstanding City Employees Award ceremony. We talked about that some last week.
What time? That's at 9:30?
Starts at 9:30, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. It's a great time. And I'm sort of glad for that. So anyway, that's a bit of a sampler of.
What about? Isn't there a meeting this week with the operations committee?
Government operations actually.
Or did they already meet?
They were meeting today, 4:30 to 5:30, for yet another installment of the exciting straightening out the procedure for how we're going to go about searching for the city manager. So it's not even
getting into the.
They're not getting into the weeds.
It's just the structure of what it's going to be. Wow.
There are a lot of very well-meaning laws like open meeting laws and public procurement laws that were all designed to make things nice and clean and open, et cetera. And oftentimes these end up becoming very counterproductive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, it's not like ultimately I'd be okay if 5 councilors just appointed a good person, but, right now, it becomes so restrictive. I think probably the most controversial thing up front will be deciding because you can't have more than 4 councilors doing anything together at once. Because it's a violation of open meeting
because then it has
laws.
to be an open meeting, right?
So therefore, if you're going to have a screening committee for city manager candidates, it can consist of no more than 4. So that means 5 councilors will not be allowed to be part of the screening committee.
So how do they get to be part of it? Who votes them in?
Ultimately, since it's conducted under the auspices of the Government Operations Committee, and David Marr is the chair.
Okay.
He will make the appointments. Now, he's a pretty fair-minded guy.
I would say he'll try to be.
But, they're probably kind of jostling for position for who's going to be on this screening committee to kind of inflict their will on the people and whatever. So anyway, ultimately, even if they go through the bottom line is this, even if they go through the most wonderful screening process and they develop a certain amount of candidates, if in the end a simple majority of 5 say, but we don't like them. Yeah. And they've got a better candidate, they still have the authority to just say, well, all right, it's been a lot of fun, but we're picking this guy. They could do that. I don't think they're going to do that, but I'm just saying is that all it takes is 5 votes, and that's it. So ultimately, right.
Reminds me of something, but I'll think of it where that happened somewhere. Chicago. I think the board had presented all these candidates to Rahm Emanuel, and he said, "Nope, I'm going with this guy. He was an internal candidate." I guess it depends on who has the authority.
I'm really okay with the notion about making a person or a relatively small number of people accountable, giving them some authority, but hold them accountable. Because honestly, decisions by committee are often the worst decisions imaginable.
They never get made.
They either never get made, or they end up being such a compromise that you end up with the worst of all worlds.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to take a risk on some of these things. So.
All right.
So anyway, that's some of the things that have been going on around town.
Or that will be going on.
Yeah, and there's more. We could definitely say more, but we'll be back and say even more.
Yeah, but we still have this segment to go here.
Yeah. So one of the things that maybe just to kick it off with a little bit more detail here, I went to a meeting. It's funny, the days are blending together, but I think it must have been yesterday morning.
Monday. Okay.
At the city council meeting where they were making a presentation about some of the upcoming things for Central Square.
Right? So what kind of meeting? Was this a meeting or was this, what was this?
Well, the thing is that there was, and actually I thought I had some of the materials for it. I think I do, actually. All right, so this was a presentation that was very similar to the presentation we got at the Central Square Advisory Committee a week and a half before.
Right, that's what it sounded like. Okay.
Where they were just sort of laying out some of the upcoming things, in a capital improvement nature for Central
So
Square.
this is stuff that's going to be happening in Central Square.
Yeah, and for those of us who are kind of denizens of the square,
Yes.
it's sort of pretty important. But this one was arranged for the Central Square Business Association.
Okay.
There were members of the public there. It wasn't an official meeting of any body, but it was just, and it was great. The manager was there, and the deputy city manager, the commissioner of public works, the city electrician, the city engineer. They were all there, and there was a lot of wonderful back and forth between members of the Central Square Business
Who
Association.
presented it?
Initially, it was Richie Rossi.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, everybody kind of chimed in.
Sure.
And everybody had a seat at the table. And, we all had a nice discussion. So,
What is happening in Central Square?
well, some things are you may think of as sort of relatively routine, but anyone who's walked down the streets of Central Square in
I do
recent
a
years,
lot, yeah.
but you may notice that there were always missing bricks, and there were steel grates around the trees that you would trip over. There were vestiges of irrigation system that were just basically trip hooks at the base of trees. So a lot of that's going to get worked on this year. They took away 130 of the grates, the steel grates around the street trees. They were serving no function at all other than to become, hazards.
Yeah.
And they're going to be replacing that with some what they call flexi pave. So hopefully it'll make it look nice. So I implored them to sort of do some repair of bricks and other things to make it sort of a more pleasant, uniform walk as you go through the square. There are some replacements of sections of sidewalk, which are currently just asphalt that'll get replaced.
Okay.
That's kind of nice. There was some time frame given some other big projects. If I'm not mistaken, the full reconstruction of Pearl Street is set to go. I think they've chosen a bidder, so that's supposed to happen.
Exactly? Is that okay? That
street and sidewalk reconstruction from Mass Ave all the way down to Granite Street at the
wasn't
Moore
there
School.
some controversy about that? I remember on a listserv about
Yeah,
that
last
they were
year.
going to make it one lane, or they're going to
Well,
make
there
it
was
narrower. How can it be narrower when there's parking on both sides?
There was a proposal from some that they
Yeah.
wanted to put in a quote protected bike lane or cycle
That's
track
what it
there.
was. Okay.
Either up on the sidewalk or whatever. And a lot of people, including me, argued of the impracticality
There's no room for it.
and
They have to
unnecessary.
take away parking.
Right. So the thing is so they argued that, well, some people be okay with that because I'm not saying this about all cycling advocates, and I'm a
Yeah.
daily cyclist
Yeah.
myself, but there's some who are just as much anti-car as they are pro-cycle. And
Right.
if you said, oh, we're going to have to take away parking spaces, they would
Yeah.
say, good.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in the end, that was very controversial,
Right.
and I think they settled on not making a final decision.
Oh.
So they're going to still do because some of it they don't really have to, so they'll just do the reconstruction, and how you end up striping it, whether you put in bike lanes or whether you put
There's no way you can put a bike lane without getting rid of parking. That I see. That is a narrow street.
yeah, I
mean,
think
it's a one way, but it's still you have parking on both sides.
I mean, I felt from the beginning that what you really need to do is have that be a relatively slow speed, calm street that where you share automobiles and cycles just fine. Which is I rode it for years, and when I went over to Boston University, and it was never a problem at all.
Yeah.
But in the end, some people wanted to have it be restricted. Cars would be permitted overnight, but then they had to hightail out of there.
Yeah.
My joke was, in other words, every day is street sweeping day.
It'd be like New York.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so the reconstruction is set to go, and there's some decisions yet to be made about that
It says that the contract will be awarded, but
in April, and I'm a little
past April.
Yeah, and I'm a little unsure whether that, I should know whether that means this year or next year, but anyway, that's a coming. One thing that's actually going to be a real pain in the butt for some folks is that the MBTA has an elevator on the inbound side of the Central Square T-stop, and that's going to get replaced.
Oh.
So there'll be, at least according to the current schedule, an 18-month period where there will be no elevator on that side, and therefore no handicap access whatsoever on the inbound side. Well, none of the solutions proposed seem all that great. One was, well, tell them to get on the outbound side, go up to Harvard Square, switch over, and head back in.
Oh, that's not good.
The other possibility is that they'll just run shuttle buses, so there'll be like the ride vehicle will park there, where the
I
constructing,
guess that might
work.
because
So
they go anyway, don't they?
yeah, so there may be a little bit of a permanent
That's a
shuttle for
problem,
18
yeah.
months, and
Okay.
so they'll have to figure that out. The one big project that's coming on another year, so in actually in FY19, construction actually planned for fiscal year 2020. I hope we're all around for that.
2020, jeez.
Is River Street coming inbound from the river into Central
Oh,
Square.
what are you gonna do there?
And that will include Carl Barron Plaza,
Yeah.
redesign and work around that. So I don't know, nobody's got any ideas yet about, well, people have ideas, but there's no plans set about even design or anything else. But anyone who's come down River Street knows, so it feels a little bit like a highway exit coming off the Mass Pike.
Well, that's where trucks can go.
Trucks can go. So the thing is, there's some call for doing some traffic calming and
there already is,
improve
isn't
it.
there?
You know, in the end, I'm sure.
Theoretically, you
Yeah.
can't have a truck after 7 or before 7.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some people who will very much advocate for having a separated cycling facility
Like they have in Western.
on Western. Whether that's needed or not, I'm not sure. One thing I will say is that it is not currently a safe route for cyclists.
No.
The question is just what's sort of the best way to make it a safe route, and I don't personally have any really strong opinions
Yeah.
about that one. But so anyway, that's a coming. And the other one, big one, I'll just sort of say this here and the quick, is there's still the participatory budget ended up with one of the proposals was for a public toilet. So what's
In Central Square?
in Central Square, and the question is, what's the site? They brought it down to 4. It looks like there's really only one that's currently plausible. So we had some discussion about possible locations for that around the corner of Mass Ave and Western, in front of what we used to call the Taxman building. Right?
Tex-
Yeah.
Mass Ave and Western.
Yeah, it's where the H&R Block is right now.
Oh, okay, all right.
But we had an interesting discussion, so, but we're out of time on this little half hour
All
here,
right.
so we'll come back and we'll kick off the second half hour with
All
that.
right,
So
more
until then,
improvements.
this has been another half hour of Cambridge Inside Out.